Steve Millington joining us in studio this morning. He's here until 9 o'clock. It's 8:33, 61 now. On our way mainly into the 80s today. It'll cool off. Oh, no, excuse me. That's tomorrow's forecast. 100 today.
Yeah. Tomorrow, when it gets into the high 80s and low 90s, we're going to be really glad for that.
Bill Colley with you, too, as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX and News Radio 1310.com. It has been a little hot lately. I walked through Craters of the Moon over the weekend, and it was about 100 degrees, and I was walking out on the trails, and they're all blacktop, which means they radiate heat back up, although maybe not as hot as the stuff underneath.
Well, I think it would probably be plenty warm out there. I've been out through there a time or two, but it's been later in the fall. And even at that, you could feel the heat radiating back up off the pathways, because they are all improved pathways, complete asphalt on all of those pathways out there. And so it's a nice little excursion, a nice little trip.
Yeah, it's good to see a little bit of Idaho on, when you get a few days off. And so I still have not gotten up into the Panhandle, but that's next on
that's
the agenda. So
I want to stay with. They don't really belong to Idaho. They should belong to either Montana or Washington.
I was going to say, you get a lot of political. The northern Idaho folks, I don't want to say they're extremist, but their politics either are a bit more to the right than here, or a bit more to the left than here, depending on where you are in that part of the state.
That they're much more divided from the rest of the state of Idaho, and I don't know exactly where that line would be as we move north up into to the North Idaho country.
Eagle, maybe?
No, it's way past that. It's got to be up by maybe Council or Riggins or Grangeville up in that country. Once you get past that and start moving north up into the Palouse country, they just have different. They wonder what's wrong with the rest of Idaho. And we look at them and ask ourselves, we wonder what's wrong with North Idaho.
It is spectacular country.
It's pretty country up there. The ride from Grangeville up to Moscow, up through that Palouse up there, boy, that is fantastic ride. That is just, now this is the wrong time of year to go. Well, in my opinion, it's the wrong time of year because the harvest is on and everything is the browns and the yellows and so forth. The twice that I have been up there have been springtime visits. And so there was, like early June, man, everything was just total green everywhere you looked. It just wonderful.
You need a whole day to do it, but it's probably worth the trip.
You better take a lunch with you.
Speaking of statewide issues, politics, we've got the election, of course, on the national level is generating all sorts of news, but it is relatively quiet statewide and really locally in elections.
Okay, two explanations perhaps on why that is so. Number one, we normally don't get started on statewide issues until the 1st of September, quote unquote. That gives them all of September and October, 60 days to work the election cycle. Some of that revolves around the fact that we have 3 or 4 major county fairs in the state of Idaho. We have the Eastern Idaho State Fair, which happens in Blackfoot, and it is the week just after the Twin Falls County Fair, which is the first 2 or 3 days of September this year. And then we have the Western Idaho Fair in Boise, which I think is just prior to the Twin Falls Fair. So you have this cycle of fairs and events that kind of bring the summer session to a close and open the fall season, the schools beginning and all that kind of stuff. And people are now done vacationing and traveling, and so they stay home. So then we hit the political cycle real hard September and October. That's one thing that we have to look at. The other contributing factor to not quite so much activity is that this is a off-year election in the state of Idaho. The 7 constitutional officers elected on a 4-year cycle, not rotation, but cycle, we bypassed that this year. That will be 2 years from now, and it was 2 years ago. So all of our state constitutional officers, governor, lieutenant governor, all of those people, it'll be 2 years before we see them on the campaign trail. When that happens, you will see a lot of that activity begin with the, my words again, parade cycle associated with 4th of July. And so they start building at the 4th of July, and they walk all the parades and wave and throw out candy and so forth. That doesn't happen this year because it's an off year. So what we're basically looking at is the state legislature races, all 105 of them throughout the state of Idaho, and then many county races are also involving in this year. They typically do not generate the same level of media attention as the statewide races or any of the national races.
Maybe if we had a September primary instead of May.
You
But
know, you know that's an interesting thing. I believe that Wisconsin has a statewide primary next Tuesday. I was reading about that this morning. They have one next Tuesday. Some other states have theirs the first Tuesday of September. And I thought to myself, there would be some advantage in having all of this happen in a shorter time frame.
more with Steve Millington coming up. It's 8:40. Bill Colley with you as well on KLIX and 63. Quick note before we delve into a little bit more political news with Steve Millington. He's the Twin Falls County Republican Party chairman. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. I've been telling you about Dr. Christine Pickup, doctor of audiology based in Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert, the only locally owned and operated now hearing center in southern Idaho. With advances in healthcare, she reminds you people are living longer, healthier lives. But decline, that means cognitive decline, continues to be a major concern. People with hearing loss have a much greater risk of developing that, which can lead to dementia. The greater the loss, the greater the risk. Keeping your hearing healthy is an important part of overall wellness. Knowing your hearing status and doing something about it can lead to a better, healthier life as you age. Now is the time to schedule that hearing evaluation. Call Mount Harrison Audiology for an appointment, 208-312-0957. So we were talking a little bit about statewide politics, and on the other races that are taking place in the state on the state level are the three of the four congressional seats are up. That is, one for Senate, two for the House. But you know what? After a lot of talk in the early spring about having some serious opposition from Democrats, I keep reading all of the financials, and the Democrats have raised barely any money, and they don't really. I haven't seen them campaigning anywhere.
Well, and I think part of the reason why you haven't seen the campaign is that even on the national level, as far as Idaho politics are concerned, Crapo and his primary opponent, which is Jerry Sturgill, and Simpson, Lisa Marie, and Libertarian Kid, and Raul Labrador, and I've forgotten who his opponent is. I'm sorry.
None of them are household names.
That's just it. None of them are household names. But even they will hold off until this, quote, unofficial starting point of Labor Day. And once we get past Labor Day, we're going to see a lot more action from all of these candidates. I know that in several races here in Twin Falls County, we've got challenges in all three of the races for House District or for State Legislature District 24. We have one race in 25. We have two races in 23. We have got three races in 26. So there's lots of activity that's beginning to come together on these things, and so it's I think that they're waiting until this September 1 date.
The only Democrat that I see consistently campaigning is Jill Scheme, and that's because I think she's got a good grasp of media and how this all works.
She does have a better feel for much of the media activity than many of the other candidates, and she is she's got a huge hurdle to jump over here. Number one, you have to run from a designated zone or district 1, 2, 3, but it's a county-wide race. Even though you're from this particular zone, everybody in the county gets to vote for the county commissioner, and so she has a better name recognition than do many other Democrats. She had a position here on Top Story for 5 or
6
6
years.
years, and so a lot of people do recognize the name, but Jill's a little fighter, and she's just going to keep charging.
Which isn't to say, of course, now her opponent in Jack Johnson has a lot of name recognition
Yes, he
as
does.
well. I mean, everybody knows who he is, and everybody who seems to know him seems to really like him. So you've got that may be the most interesting just because of their backgrounds and the fact that they're both well known. But other than that, I can't see a lot going on where Democrats running are going to have much of a shot.
I think there's 2 or 3 races that are going to give us some interesting dynamic. The races in Legislative District 24, for example, which is basically the city of Twin Falls, uh, as far as uh, boundary line is concerned. I think it's closer to the not just the city limits, but what we would consider the uh, over area surrounding Twin Falls. They're going to have they're going to have some interesting uh, challenges in that
Now, see, because
district.
most Democrats who like to live in Twin Falls County live within the city of Twin
That they do
Falls.
they do most of them do live in within Twin Falls city limits, and that's basically Legislative District 24. And so we're going to see more. In fact, in District 23, um, the Senate race is uncontested. The House race uh, A has a Democrat. The House race B has an independent and a libertarian. So they don't have a Democrat in one of the races in 23. Now in 25, which is Gooding, Camas, Blaine, and parts, I should say, Lincoln County, which is the city of Shoshone. So they have got 3 contested races up there, and the Democrats have a very strong presence in that area, very strong. You got Michelle Stennett, who is the Senate uh, leader for the Democrats, and she's being challenged by Dale Eberson. That's going to be a tremendous race. Then you have Steve Miller as a representative, and I cannot tell you who's running against him. And a guy named Sutter from Shoshone is running against that's an open seat because Donna Pence retired from the legislature, and so we now have an open seat there. But there's another woman running as a Democrat. She's also from Gooding, but she has that strong Democratic uh, acknowledgement, recognition in that particular district. That's going to be some interesting races right there.
You've got the one that stands out in my mind on the for state legislature is Democrat Scott McClure, who's running for state senate, I guess, right?
Yeah, against Jim Patrick in 25.
Now, I had a Republican from Jerome County tell me that he said, for all intents and purposes, Scott is a Republican, but he's been a Democrat all of his life, so he doesn't change his
He
registration.
just hasn't changed his registration.
So
And
the
that's going to be an interesting and demanding race. Um, I am going off reservation here, but I think that Scott McClure is a engineer, and he does a tremendous amount of work with some of the big engineering companies as far as infrastructure, water, sewer, all that kind of stuff. So he's had a great presence with many other elected officials, especially citywide, because the company he works for, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what it is, does tremendous amount of work for the various cities and like schools and so forth. They help them with their design and layout and so forth. If they're building schools or county buildings or anything like that, he does a tremendous amount of that kind of work. So many of the people, elected officials, have had a uh, working introduction relationship with Scott McClure. He made a pretty good challenge against Jim Patrick 2 years ago, and I'm not surprised, frankly, that he's running again. And he's just it's on the wrong side of the ballot. Is what he is.
the numbers that they don't help him out there with the registration, and we want to point out it's coming up on 9 minutes from 9 o'clock. And Bill Colley, of course, with you on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Steve Millington is the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. He joins us on Tuesday mornings. And if you'd like to reach us today, telephone number on the air, 736-0300. That's 736-0300. So just to kind of a rundown of what's going on that level. But a lot of these people, as you say, we'll see a lot more of come September.
Now, we will start that process. This is where I get my little free moment. Not next, on August 10th, a week from tomorrow, August 10th, the Twin Falls Republicans will have their summer picnic at the Twin Falls City Park. And we have invited all of these people. Many of them we have received positive commitments on. We know that Senator Crapo is going to be there. We think that Mike Simpson will be there. We don't have a confirmation on him. Crapo will be there because they have told me, can he make his speech between this time and this time? We have an appointment in Pocatello the very next morning. We need to get him to Pocatello. And I said, yes, I think I can arrange that. So we do have, and 23 and 24 and 25, 26, we expect to have most of the elected representatives from those legislative districts in attendance. Plus, all of the Twin Falls County officers will be there.
We have a caller with us. And caller, you're up next. You're on the air at 8:52.
Good morning.
Good morning, Stephen, Bill. First of all, I heard a description of the networks: ABC, all Bill Clinton; CNN, Clinton News Network; CBS, Clinton BS. Secondly, Hillary said in the first 100 days she's going to do all these great things. I read where when the Clintons went into the governorship in Arkansas was ranked 49th for educating their children, and after 8 or 12 years of being in the Arkansas State House, the Clintons, under their great concern for children, Arkansas was ranked 49th.
They went nowhere.
There was an old sketch on Saturday Night Live where they're doing a debate, and Clinton says, I want to tell you that my state ranks first for people being killed by falling rocks.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh dear. And you know, the thing that concerns me the most is just like with this Mr. Khan and his relationship with what we would consider to be abnormal refugees, this Sharia law advocates and so forth. That's never going to hit the mainstream media.
No.
And even Sunday, Hillary Clinton was on with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday, and the Monday morning, the Washington Post gave her 4 Pinocchios because she lied so many times on that particular show. But it went nowhere. Nobody picked up on it. Nobody challenged it. Nobody said, what is going on here? She just
said
has
that she had been cleared by Director Comey, and that's not at all what happened.
No, they never cleared her because they never charged her.
Right.
That it's ridiculous. And if you listen to the snippets between Trey Gowdy and Director Comey, Gowdy asked the questions, and Comey said, yeah, there was confidential material that she had there. No, she did not give us all of that information. Yes, she misrepresented this. Yes, she misrepresented. And nobody will. What is the deal that nobody will take on that case?
We have another caller with us. Caller, you're up next. You're on air on News Radio 1310, KLIX.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Steve, since my ears are practically bleeding all the time that
you need to see a doctor.
Can you tell me how does Trump, what are his politics, his policies that he's going to implement? I mean, let alone the wall, whatever. Like, how's he going to create jobs? What's he going to do? Has he said anything? You tell me.
Of course, he's already created thousands of jobs, as he says.
Yeah, right. You know, I think we have 2 phases, and the general election, the presidential election, is they're so busy throwing mud at each other, they haven't got into the nitty-gritty on this thing yet. But I believe in the next couple of 3 weeks, you're going to see Trump is in order for him to regain his leadership position in the polls. He's going to have to become more specific and more definitive in what kinds of things is he going to do to
he did offer a tax cut. I mean, he put some of these things all ready together and released them.
which is a good thing. In nearly every situation, you want to go back and look historically. If we have a meaningful, the operative word there is meaningful tax cut, we see a huge increase in economic activity, growth in this country.
Cal Thomas, by the way, in his column today, great man, by the way, Cal Thomas says that he found some experts to actually add up all of Hillary's promises from last week. Her promises will cost us $1 trillion yearly in new taxes. Trillion.
That's $1 trillion in new taxes. Or, in the absence of new taxes, that's $1 trillion of additional debt that we're going to have to face in this country.
We're going to try to squeeze a caller in here in about a minute and a half. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Good morning.
I can't tell you when the last time I heard a Democrat ask for specifics from one of their own.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's ever happened, a la Nancy Pelosi. And secondly, I'll tell you exactly how he's going to create jobs. I don't even like the guy. I might vote for him, but maybe not.
Please vote for him.
If he builds a wall and gets rid of all the illegals, there's your jobs. Plain and simple. You start making people work for a living, you'll create jobs, and you also get rid of a lot of our so-called entitlement programs.
Exactly, entitlement. That I had a conversation with a friend just this past week, and we were on kind of opposite sides of the truck there, and so I said, what we need to do is put a program together, and this was kind of like Reagan's program back in the 80s, and Newt Gingrich pushed it early in the 90s, and that was, we're not going to eliminate all of your government payments, but we're going to give you a job, and as you progress up through the chain, and as your income increases, we will reduce the government payments to you so that eventually you're out on your own and working and have the pride of performance and satisfaction of taking care of providing for yourself. That's how we create jobs in this country.
And we'll see you next week.
Yes, you will. Son
Tuesday
of a
morning,
gun.
August 9th.
Won't that be fun?
Yes. Last day before the picnic. He'll have more details on
I can hardly wait.
We've got a break coming up. News is next from Fox. And, of course, I've got a guest coming by who'll give us the rundown on Brigitte Gabriel's appearance here in Twin Falls coming up on Thursday night.